The expense of spirit in a waste of shame is lust in action. And till action, lust is perjur'd, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, enjoyed no sooner but despised straight, past reason hunted, and no sooner had, past reason hated, as a swallowed bait, on purpose laid to make the taker mad, mad in pursuit and in possession so, had, having, and in quest to have, extreme, a bliss in proof, and prov'd a very woe, before a joy proposed, behind a dream. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. Damn. Okay, so this is a very famous sonnet about the nature of lust. And I know this is going to sound crazy, huge Shakespeare-phile that I am, but I had somehow never encountered this sonnet until I started working on this project. Seriously, I had never read it, I'd never heard it, I'd never seen it, I didn't know anything about it, I didn't know that it existed. But I've been having that phenomenon happen. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this. Like when you learn a new word and then suddenly you see it everywhere. I have been seeing this sonnet everywhere. This is the one sonnet that I had multiple people request. And also a few days ago, I was working on this sonnet marathon for Shakespeare's birthday with the Irondale Ensemble Project. And there were several celebrities who were involved as well. And this is the sonnet that Ralph Fiennes chose to do. And it's brilliant. You should look it up, hear him read it. It's stunning. But also, Rufus Wainwright was involved. And he told this anecdote about how when he was a young boy and his mother caught him masturbating in his bedroom, that she forced him to read this sonnet. So yeah, it keeps popping up, and it's kind of cool to be able to look at it with fresh eyes, though. I have no preconceived notions about this sonnet, so I guess without further ado, let's just dig right in. The expensive spirit in a waste of shame is lust in action. The expensive spirit is the expenditure of sexual energy, and specifically the release of semen. In a waste of shame. It's releasing it into a wasteland of shame, but waste also has a secondary meaning, punning on the word waist, as in the waist of a woman, or waste of shame, the waist of a prostitute. Is lust in action, so the physical act of making love, fornication. And till that action is completed, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, or guilty, very guilty, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, not to be trusted, enjoyed no sooner but despised straight. The verb to enjoy had a secondary meaning in Shakespeare's time. It also meant to have sex with. So no sooner do you have sex, but you despise it, you despise yourself immediately. Past reason hunted, you go to any means to have sex, and then as soon as it's had, it's past reason hated. You hate yourself for doing it. As a swallowed bait on purpose laid to make the taker mad. As if it's a bait that's not just there to trap you, but to drive you insane. Mad in pursuit and in possession so. You're crazy not just while you're trying to get sex, but also while you're having it. Had, having, and in quest to have extreme. In every stage of the process, you go to extremes. A bliss in proof, and prov'd a very woe. It's amazing while you're having it, but it is a very woe afterward. It's you hate yourself afterward. And prov'd, in Elizabethan typeset, the V's and the U's looked very similar, So there also would have been a visual pun on the word prov'd. It would have looked like proud, which had a secondary meaning of standing erect, like a penis stands erect. Yeah. Before, a joy proposed, behind, a dream. Before you have sex, it is a joy that you're looking forward to, and afterward, it's nothing more than a dream. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well, to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. So everybody knows that this is true, but nobody knows how to avoid this temptation that leads men to this hell. And hell had a secondary meaning. Hell was also slang for vagina. So, this sonnet is really, it's mysterious in several ways. First of all, as I was talking about before with Sonnet 94 and Sonnet 116, this is the only other sonnet that is written entirely in third person, which creates this sense of distance from the subject matter. It creates a sense of mystery, and it makes it even more enigmatic, because he's not speaking directly to someone, he's speaking around the subject. And again, I think that Shakespeare does that when he's talking about something that's too taboo or too painful or sensitive to speak about directly. And also the placement of this sonnet is really fascinating because it falls in between several very light-hearted sonnets. Sonnet 130 that comes right after this is one of the lightest sonnets of them all. It's very funny and sweet. And this is possibly the darkest sonnet. Now, some people will say, well, we don't know that Shakespeare had a hand in the order of the sonnets, but I think it's pretty clear that Shakespeare chose the way that these sonnets are ordered because they're curated too carefully. And so I think that this sonnet is placed where it is to present a kind of foreshadowing as about what's to come with the Dark Lady sonnets. Because again, so far they've been very light and sweet, but they get very dark very quickly. And so this just creates this, again, this sense of mystery that something wicked this way comes, something dark is just under the surface. I can't help but read this as a very masculine sonnet. It's a very phallus centered view of sexuality. And I'll even go this far. I think that whether instinctively or purposefully, I'm not sure, but Shakespeare has structured this sonnet to mirror the male orgasm. The way that he uses this list to build tension and to build speed. Lust is perjur'd, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, and it builds to this kind of frenzy until you get to before a joy proposed, behind a dream. All this the world well knows, etc., etc. And that's not crazy. It's actually very common. Our most basic storytelling structures mirror the male orgasm. They even use some of the same words. Exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement. It's just, again, it's a very masculine sonnet. And it makes a lot of sense to me that this sonnet was written by a bisexual man, because I don't think that being a bisexual man has gotten much easier since Shakespeare's day. It carries with it its own special burdens. And I wonder if this sonnet would make as much sense in a very sex-positive culture as it does in ours, where sex is considered a sin, where it's considered immoral and all of that. I don't know, but obviously a lot of people relate to this sonnet. So that is Sonnet 129. I'll be back with something a little bit lighter tomorrow, but have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. All my love. Bye.